Right, we move to sports. Nicknamed the Chokers in their infamous implosion against Australia in the 1999 in England, now the Proteas will today have to play their best and to beat Australia and book their ticket to the ICC Cricket World Cup final. Both teams meet in the second of this year's semi-finals at Eden Gardens in Kolkata. Now, the South African men's team have reached the last four on four occasions, 1992, 1999, 2007 and 2015, but have failed to reach the final. Meanwhile, the Proteas received a major boost as captain Themba Bavuma reportedly trained without any pain ahead of their Cricket World Cup semi-final against Australia. The winner of this game will face either host India or New Zealand in Sunday's final. Now, journalist and cricket writer Kenneth Borland joins us from Johannesburg to discuss this further. Good morning, Kenneth, and thank you so much for joining me in the news. Can you hear me, Kenneth? All right, good morning.
Yes, I can.
All right, so how do you assess the overall performance of South Africa in the tournament so far?
No, well, I think they've had a really, really good, outstanding tournament, really, especially if you compare it to their previous 50-over World Cup in 2019, where they bombed out very early. Even last year's T20 World Cup, where they didn't play that well. You know, they've had one of the most explosive batting lineups in India. They've had one of the best bowling attacks, a very aggressive bowling attack that's is second only to India in terms of the number of wickets they've taken through the tournament. So it's been a very good campaign for them so far, with just a couple of losses.
All right, so as Proteas captain, Themba Bavuma returns after an injury. Can you tell us, Kenneth, how crucial is his presence going to be for South Africa in this semi-final match against Australia?
Well, not so much with the bat, because he's already out for a duck, unfortunately. Mitchell Starc having him caught behind. But arguably, his role as captain is perhaps more crucial than his batting. He's been a bit short of runs lately anyway. But his first job was to win the toss, and he did that. So that's a massive boost for South Africa. They're batting first, which is how they like to play things. They bring that really powerful middle order in, post big scores, batting first, and then defend them largely by taking wickets when bowling. So he's won the toss. That's a great start. Didn't get on the scoreboard with the bat, but he's also going to be crucial later in the field, just in terms of marshalling the troops, bowling changes, field settings, that sort of thing.
All right, Kenneth, you'd also agree with me that Australia has been in an impressive form throughout the tournament. What strategies do you think South Africa needs to adopt to counter Australia's strengths?
Yeah, well, in terms of the batting, I think South Africa will just stick to what they've been doing before. You know, they've made a slow start here, 4 for 1 after 3 overs. Which is understandable given the loss of the early wicket, and it's very humid in Kolkata. The ball is swinging around a bit more, so I think they'll stick to their usual method of a slow, not slow, but a steady build-up through the first power play. Make sure they lay a platform for that explosive middle order to come in later, and we'll see that they'll do maybe even 75% of their scoring in the second half of the innings. With the ball, where they've really had the wood over Australia recently, and they've won 15 of their last 18 matches against Australia, is that they keep taking wickets. So Australia very aggressive up front. They'll score quickly, but South Africa have had the ability to keep chipping away and take wickets. There's still a little bit of a question mark over Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, both playing in the Australian middle order. You know, if they're under pressure to lift the run rate quickly, that can be quite tough for them sometimes. So I'm sure we'll see South Africa be very aggressive with the ball, and they've chosen 2 spinners as well, in Keshav Maharaj, who's been absolutely outstanding in this event, and Tabraiz Shamsi, who's a wicket taker and has a very good record against Australia.
All right, well, just before we go, Kenneth, now South Africa has a strong battling or batting lineup, but their middle order is in some games has been inconsistent. Now, do you think that this could be a potential weakness that Australia might exploit? And also, on the bowling front, South Africa has relied heavily on their pacers as well, especially Kagiso Rabada. How important will their performance be against Australia's aggressive batting lineup?
Yeah, first on the middle order batting, I don't really agree with that. I mean, I think South Africa's middle order of Markram, Klaas, Miller has been arguably the best of the tournament. They've scored at a tremendous rate. Yeah, sure. One or two games, they might not have come off, but that's always going to happen, especially with how aggressively they play. So I see that South African middle order as a real strength of theirs. Especially if they come in with only a couple of wickets down after 25, 30 overs, then they can really cut loose. In terms of the bowling, yeah, Kagiso Rabada, he might not have taken many wickets, but he's been one of the most economical bowlers in the tournament. He's not even taken the new ball, but you still sense that he's leading that attack. He's really set the tone from when he comes in towards the end of the first power play. So he's been a really great weapon for South Africa. Uh, I think the spinners will play a big role today. Keshav Maharaj has been brilliant. He's gone to number one in the ODI rankings based on his form in this World Cup. And as I said before, Tabraiz Shamsi has troubled Australia before. So they'll go hard up front against the new ball. It depends how quickly those guys can adapt and hopefully get one or two Australian batsmen out. But it's going to be a fascinating contest, no doubt.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kenneth Borland, for joining me and discussing this with me, this particular issue with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.